Kadosh Boker Tov. We're going to be continuing on Daf Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph 101A1. We are on the Mishnah at the top. And the Mishnah says Hadelet Shebemuktzeh. So we're talking about the door which is at the entrance of the house. Okay, so if you look, you have a picture there in the art scroll. Yeah, we're starting in the Mishnah Kuf Aleph, where we have the Mishnah where it says over here, yeah, Hadelet Shebemuktzeh. We're talking about the door which is at the entrance, right, at the back of the houses. Okay, that you don't always use it, and therefore they don't make a delet kavua with a tzid, which with the rings, you know, with the hinges. Thank you, right, going around. But rather they come and they do it. They put up the door and they hang it with a chevel, with a rope. Okay, so you have the picture there in the art scroll, right? Which basically, again, it's not a regular door, right? It's a regular door, but it's not connected regularly. Okay? So he comes and he says as follows. He says, "V'chadakim shebepirtza," or we're talking about chavilot of kotzim. Yeah, basically you put it like a door in order to stop the breach, which means you have an entrance, and what you do is you put a whole bunch of thorns in order to stop that if people are going to come in and out. Right? You don't want them to use this place like an entrance. Umachzalot, or you have carpets made out of reeds. En noalim bahem. You're not allowed to close it on Shabbat. Right? Why? Because then it looks like you're doing a binyan, which means the door is made to open and close. A door has the hinges, and it goes open and close, no problem. You're not building anything. However, though, if it is that you have to actually put the door, and it's only attached to a rope, and now you're putting the door in, that looks like you're building. And therefore, you're not allowed to open and close on the Shabbat. The same thing would happen to the bushes of the thorns, the bundles of the thorns, or the carpets of the reeds. Okay? Yes. So he says here, Ela im ken, unless, right? He says over here that you have, whether it is going to be that the door or these thorns or the carpets, they're going to be tied up, right, from Erev Shabbat, ugvuim min haaretz, and they're above the ground even at the time when you open it. So therefore, right, what does this mean even the time that you open it? Okay, there's a beautiful lacha on this. But basically what happens is that it has to be above the ground because it looks like it's prepared to come in to close it. So therefore, it's like every other single type of a door, which is open to close, which is permitted to open and close. Okay? Now comes the Gemara and says as follows. So we're on the Gemara, Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph. Urminhu, we have a contradiction. Delet anigreret umachzelet anigreret bekankan anigrar. Right? The stira and the braita is that like this. We have a contradiction. Delet anigreret, when you have a door which is hung on the entrance, and underneath it's actually touching the ground. So when you open up the door, you're dragging the ground. Okay? Umachzelet anigreret, or we're talking about the same thing with a carpet, or bekankan anigrar, which is basically a utensil which is used for plowing, and they put it right instead of the door in order to lock it. So now when you're putting it, it's going to be nigrar al karka. So all these cases, they're being dragged on the ground. If it's going to be tied to the entrance, right, and hung, right, so therefore noalin, you are allowed to come and close the door by him b'Shabbat. You don't even have to say from Yom Tov. So here it's written that as long as it's tied to the door, you're permitted to come and to close it. Right? And beforehand, it's written that it's going to be, right? It's going to be what? Prohibited. That's what the Mishnah said. So I'm going to Abaye says, B'sheish lehem tzir. Again, as long as it has these hinges to the door. Right? So that's why he's saying over here, that's why it doesn't have to be gavoa min haaretz, because rather, since it's already tied to the door, right? It says it doesn't look like it's going to be boneh. So that's the answer of Abaye. Rava comes and he says, the braita which permits you to do this is b'sheyala and seed, right? That means they had the hinges. Meaning, even though right now they do not have it, the fact that in the past they did have the hinges, that just shows us that what? That it wanted to use it as a door and to open and close, and therefore it did have the hinges, even though right now, currently they do not have the hinges. So that was the difference between Abaye and Rava, but according to everybody, it had to have a seed one time or other. The question is, does it still need it now, which that's a shita of Abaye, or like Rava, that right now you don't need it? So Meitvei, so we're going to ask the following question. Okay, when we're talking about a door, which is going to be dragged, or a carpet, which is going to be dragged, or a kankana nigrar, which means we're talking about here, again, this is the utensil. I don't know how you would say it in English, but it's something in order that when you're doing for the plowing. I don't know, it doesn't actually say here. It just says, Kliyam shamesh lachizat machriya b'shat achrisha. It's like, it's that you're using the utensil, right? You're using it for the utensil. John Paul, does it say what it says in English?
I think it's hair's breadth, something like that.
Yeah, that's what it says. Kankana nigrar is a hair's breadth.
No, so it's before. No.
No, you're in Melonima. I'm talking about a few words before where it says the door which is being dragged, the carpet which is being dragged, or the
no, a pivot, no.
Pivot, it could be. No, the pivot I think is a tzir there, no?
Yeah, no. Wait, you are before Abaye?
No, I'm right. Well, either before Abaye or right after Abaye. But the beginning of the Gemara said there's a contradiction. You have a door, then you have a carpet, and then you have a what?
The door. A reed's mat. Cap on the wall. No. A door to a backyard and a bundle of thorns in the gap of the wall and reed mats. And
and what's the next one? Right after the reed mats.
The reed mats of the door. One may not close the entrance way with them.
But it doesn't explain what's a kankana nigrar.
No.
Okay, it doesn't make sense. It's very weird, very weird. Check the 101. 101.
101 where? A,
Mishnah.
B?
Mishnah.
101A?
Yes.
Oh.
Can you let me know what it says there in the art scroll? Maybe you have a different app. Because we're just trying to find out what's the English word for kankana nigrar.
The door of a backyard, or you look?
Yeah, okay, no, that's the door of the backyard. No, but later on where it says, this is the Gemara, no? How do you, this is Gemara. Here it is, 1 second. So the pivot was the tzir. I translated it as hinges. Here it's translated as pivot. 1 second. He just says the plow handle. Okay, plow handle.
Plow handle? What's
the plow
that?
handle. Basically, it's a handle what you use for the plowing. So he just said it's a handle. That's why I thought it was a fancy word for it. Okay, fine. Yeah. Basically like this. One more time. Yeah, everyone's with me. The Mishnah says that when you have a door in the backyard, or you have a bunch of thorns, or a carpet of reeds, you're not allowed to close the door on the Shabbat. Why? Because it looks like you're building. Unless it was going to be above the ground, which means that even when it's open, it's above the ground. And therefore, since it's above the ground, and you know that it's meant in order to open and close, so therefore it does not look like you're building.
How is this different from a window where we sometimes tie it with a rope and let it leave?
Very good. That's what the Gemara is going to speak about. So the Gemara says, we have a contradiction. The contradiction is that when you have a door which is going to be dragged, or the carpet which is going to be dragged, carpet of reeds, or the plow handle, that's what it was. Okay, if it's going to be tied, right, which means it's tied to the door, you're allowed to close it on Shabbat. You don't have to say on Yom Tov. Why? Because it doesn't look like you're building. You're just closing off the door. So the Gemara answered, Amar Abaye b'sheish lahem tzir, they had the pivot, which is again the thing which makes it turn, which we say just easily just hinges. Okay? And Rava says they had it previously, which means that according to Shitat Abaye, if it has the tzir now, but I think it's pashut, obviously, because if it has the hinges now, obviously, it's a door. So therefore, there's not going to be a problem. However, though, according to Rava, right now, you don't need it. You needed it in the past, which means if it once upon a time already had this hinges, right, or this pivot, so then it's already going to be okay, even though right now, presently, it does not have it. So we're going to ask, and this is where we're up to now, Meitve, we have the question, when you have, whether it's going to be the door, which is dragged, or the carpet of reeds, which is dragged, or the kankana nigra, which is again, here the kankana is the plow handle, even if it's going to be the hair's breadth, that's what you just translated it, Jean Paul. Noalim bahen, you are allowed to close the door. But if not, And no alim you're not allowed to close the door. So you see from here, the Braita is talking about that it already has the tzid. It has these hinges. And still, it has to be above the ground. So this is against Abaye and Rava. Both Abaye and Rava were talking about that it once upon a time had a tzid or it presently has a tzid, which means whether it has the hinges or presently has the hinges right now. Here, this is a proof that even if it does have the hinges, I don't care. It's still not good enough. It has to be above the ground. So Abaye metaretz tameh, Rava metaretz tameh. Each one is going to answer according to his own reasoning. Abaye is going to metaretz tameh according to his reasoning. Or sheyesh lahem tzid, or if it has the hinges, or shegvoin mina aretz, or if it's going to be above the ground. That means either or. You have two choices. If you want to open and close on Shabbat, the only thing that you have to do is what? Is either going to be if it has hinges, or if it's going to be.
It has to have hinges or once had hinges.
No. According to Abaye, it all has to have hinges now. But according to Rava, it once had upon a time had hinges. But now what we're trying to answer is that according to Abaye, it's either or, which means either you need the prerequisite, which is hinges, or you need that it's above the ground. Either or permits it. Okay? And Rava is going to be mitaretz. Okay? He says, what does that mean? Keshayala and seed, where they previously had hinges, or shegvui minaretz. Or right now, it presently, right, is above the ground. Okay, so either or. So again, basically what we're trying to answer is that when it says in the Gemara right here, and that's what we're asking the Meitvei from the Braita, kavui min haaretz, that's the second option, according to both of them. Okay, that was from this Meitvei. Because basically, Bemet, you don't need it. It's either or. Either the hinges or above the ground, right? Or it had hinges and above the ground. Either or. Okay? Tanu Rabbanan, we learned in the Braita. Soche kotzim. Talking about branches of thorn branches. Bachavilim, or chavilot of kotzim. So we're talking about bundles of thorns. That you put it in order to close off the breach in a chatzer. So you have a courtyard and you have an opening. Again, I don't know why we stopped with the pictures. Chaval, we enjoyed the pictures until now, but there's no pictures that we finished the picture book. So what happened is that you have this opening, this breach. And what did you do? You put in the breach, you put these different types of thorns or things that nobody's going to go through. It's like barbed wire, right? Nobody's going to come through. So if it's going to be tied to the wall, right, and above the ground, you could actually close it. The Shabbat. You don't have to say it on Yom Tov, right? So this is what we just mentioned until now. So Tani Rabbi Chia says, Rabbi Chia, delet almana, right? A delet almana, which is basically a widow door. What does that mean, widow door? It doesn't mean that it belongs to a widow. It says here that it's lacking different parts, okay, that are usually found in a door.
It says here it's forbidden even if it has a pivot.
Yeah, so he says here, because since it's not fixed 100%, that's why it's called an almana. So it says hanigreret, which is going to be above the ground, which is going to be dragged on the ground. And no alimba, you're not allowed to come and close it, even though you do have these hinges. Why? Because it doesn't look like a door. It looks like a piece of wood or whatever it is. And therefore, what happens is it looks like you're building when you come and you put it into the door. So it says the Gemara, what is considered delet almana? Just a door that's lacking parts? What is lacking? Some people say the chad shipa, which means that it's only made from one board. So it looks like a board and not like a door. And some people say delele gishma, that it doesn't have the brichim, which means that it doesn't have the parts which are connecting. Right? It's all done through nails and not through other parts from the outside. The hardware, I don't know the hardware. It just says it connects them together. Okay.
It says they're attached only with nails, not with external crossbars. The ritva.
Right, the crossbar, that's what I have here, the briach. The briach is usually the lock, right? Fine. Amar Rav Yehuda says, Hai medurta. Yeah, if somebody is going to make a medura gdola on Yom Tov. So remember, a medura is a bonfire and he's bringing the wood, okay? So now what they used to do they used to do like a building, which means that they used to put the wood, right, just like four corners. And then they used to put, right, on top of it, it seemed like a gag. So you used to like make a wall and then a roof. Okay, now what happens? Mimala lemata, if you're doing it from above to below, so you're bringing first the top woods and then the woods on the bottom to actually hold them up. Okay, so shadi, it's going to be permitted. Why? Because that's not derech binyan. It's not the normal way of
The
building.
way we normally make a fire, wood fire, is we'll take wood and we'll make like squares in the bottom, and it goes.
And
to
then
the
you
top.
go to the top.
But that's
Exactly.
prohibited. We're building.
Exactly.
They
So
want
therefore,
us
you
to do what?
the opposite,
How
from
do you
up
do
to the bottom.
opposite? How can you put the top if there's no bottom?
That's what he's saying. You have to first bring the upper woods, right? You're holding it up, and then you have to put the ones underneath it. So obviously, you need more than one person.
We spoke about something like that, about the
You're doing a shinui. Basically, what happens is, for example, I'm going to hold this up, and now you're going to help me put the bottom ones underneath. So therefore, I'm building it from up to down and not down to up.
Right.
Again, remember, here we're talking about also on Yom Tov. Right? Because on Yom Tov, you're allowed to make it. You're allowed to make the fire, right? But again, we're talking about you're not allowed to light the fire, but you're allowed to take it from one to another. But, right, again, we're talking about that you're not allowed to do boneh. So this is called the building. So again, so...
I said it's not a problem. It's a rabbinic. So they, as long as we have we do the shinui, then it's okay.
Yeah. So... From above,
it's not permanent. It's temporary.
Yes. Mimala lamata. So again, from above to below, it's going to be permitted. Okay, but it's not derech binyan. From below to above, it's going to be permitted. Okay. Now he says over here, right? Mimata lemala asid. Vechen beata. The same halacha would apply to an egg. What does that mean? If you want to come and you want to roast an egg by putting it on top of like an askela, which is basically where they usually come and they start frying, not frying, roasting.
It a grill here.
Yeah, grill. It's like where they come and they roast the different types of meats. Okay, on top of woods. Yeah.
Rashi
Yeah.
explains the eggs are placed across the top of two logs.
Yeah, that's what he says here. Yeah. So he says here, so what do you have to do? So you have to hold it up in your hand above the fire. Okay? And then you have to put it underneath the eggs, not the opposite.
So wait a minute. So instead of me going to a fry pan, I put it on the fire, get it hot, and then crack an egg on top. I can't do that, but
you have to do the opposite. You hold up the egg,
hold it up,
and then
put the pot on it, and then crack the egg and put it in it.
No, but you have to put, first of all, the things on the fire underneath, meaning the woods and everything underneath. You're basically doing the opposite of what you usually do.
Okay.
First, you usually set up the fire, and then you put the egg, and now you're putting the egg, and then you're setting up the fire. V'chem b'kedera. Same halacha would apply in a kedera, which is a pot. The same thing. What? No, there's no pictures. In the first one, the original one, we have their pictures? In the original picture, look.
I didn't.
I have it somewhere. But,
so the same halacha would apply to the kedera, which is a pot. Okay? V'chen puraya. The same halacha would apply to a collapsible bed that you just said that is made out of leather. Okay? That you have different different rings. Okay? And they're tied to it. So again, you have to put the bottom, right? And then the top and then the bottom underneath it. V'chen, and the same halacha would apply to chavita, to a barrel. Okay? That if you wanted to put one barrel on top of two barrels, you have to hold up the top barrel in the air and then put the two barrels underneath it and not the opposite. So Amar le'ahut Tzedoki, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Charanya, says a Tzedoki to Rabbi Yehoshua ben Charanya, Chidka'a, you're like a thorn. Dichtiv b'chubaz, it's written about you, Tovam kechedek, that the good of Israel or the tzaddikim, they're like thorns. So basically the tzaddikim, they're like thorns. Amar le, so he came and he told him, yeah, Shatya, Shoteh, yeah, Shvi l'seva dekra, yeah. Some people think that I'm very harsh when I speak to them. Here he gets straight to the point. He goes for the kill. He tells us shoteh. You know what shoteh is? Right? Nowadays in common language, we'll say retarded. Yeah? No, much worse than food. Yeah? He says shatya. Shafile sefer dikra. Go to the end of the pasuk. Tichtiv, as it says in the pasuk. Yeah? Ksil is a fool. Right? Shoteh is cheresh shoteh v'katan. Shoteh is mamash a retarded person. Mentally, yeah, Dichtiv, mentally challenged. Yes, thank you. Handicapped. Yeah, Dichtiv, Yashar mi mesucha. What does it mean, Yashar mesucha? The Yesharim sheba Am Yisrael, they protect Am Yisrael like the sukkah. So therefore, it's telling us that we are considered the Yesharim, right? And therefore, since the tzaddikim are considered the Yesharim, that's why they are like a sukkah. Ve'lamai tovam kechelek. So what does it mean that they are like thorns? Keshem shechadakim alalu miginin al pizza. Just like these thorns protect the breach, the ganavim or the wild animals from coming in, kach tovim shebanu, so too the tzaddikim migarim alenu, they protect upon us.
Making fun of all these little shinuis, and then he said these little shinuis are important and they're smart and they have
yes, right? Which means that when it comes, because basically the Tzeduki was laughing about Rabbi Shua ben Chananya, telling him, you guys are like thorns, the Tzadikim. So he went and he said, you're a fool, right? Or should I just, I'm saying it now in a very nice, in a very nice way. Right? He told him you're retarded. Let's look at the end of the pasuk. Because the end of the pasuk is written, Yasham Misucha. Yeah, I have it. I'm gonna share the screen. Yeah? Yeah, I have it. We're gonna share the screen now. Okay, so what does that mean, Yasham Misucha? That the tzaddikim are like a sukkah. So then he went and he said, so what's the explanation to them that the good people are like the thorns? It means that the tzaddikim are like the thorns, that they protect us from the breaches. Tavar acher, another explanation. Tovam kechedek, sheme'adekin et reshaim. The good people in the Am, what are they like the thorns? That they come and they shochakim adak, they come and they crush the reshaim, right? To the Geinam.
Thorns actually protect the rose from being, molested, because the thorn is protection.
Yes, that was the first one. Now we're in the next explanation.
Apparent to be right.
Oh, okay. But now it's the next one. The next one is that Tovam kechedek. It says over here that the me'adekin et reshaim the Geinam. They're making it hadek etev. What does that mean? Crushed, pulverized, right? Mamash, dak. Right? Dak lafat. Right? That's what it says. So you're making it dak. So he says, Madakin, they're making a shochakim dak, et reshaim legeinam, to go to the geinam. Shneimar, kumi vedoshi batzion ki kanech, asim barzelu farsotayich asim nechusha, vadikot amim rabbim. So that's why. So the tovim, they're making the reshaim pulverized to go to, right, the Geinam. Okay?
I learned it from Rabbi Benjo.
Yeah?
Because he said that was
The double.
the second one was with the koach and the other was from the inside.
Yeah. Very good. Okay. Everyone has it? I just shared the screen. We're on the Mishnah Kuf Aleph Amud Aleph, the second Mishnah over there. Okay?
Yeah.
Says the Mishnah, Lo Ya'amod. One second. Over here. Okay. Lo Ya'amod Adam B'Rishut HaYachid V'Yiftach B'Rishut HaRabim. So it says over here like this: a person should not be in the Rishut HaYachid, okay? V'Yitol, and then he's going to come and he's going to take the mafteach, which is in the Rishut HaRabim, V'Yiftach B'Rishut HaRabim, and open up in the Rishut HaRabim.
He's getting the key from the Shusharabim. There's no key in the Shusharabim. Where's the key? Where's the key?
No, it's not this picture yet.
I'm just saying it says,
Yeah.
not stand and pick up a key lying in the Shusharabim.
Let's say I have, many times it happens, by the way, right? By the way, here you have it.
Mailbox. Where?
There's the key.
That's the key?
Yeah, but forget about up here, right? Let's say right here, many times they have, right, a carpet, right? And we all know that usually where do you... No, but that one. Hold your horses, Richard. Yeah, here, right here, many people have a carpet. And the minhag, etzel rova olam, is either underneath the carpet, or here they have like some type of a flower type of a thing, and inside flower pot, and inside the rocks they have the keys. Yeah. You understand? So this is you understand? So therefore he's saying a person cannot be right. Lo ya'amod adam b'rishut hayachid v'yiftach b'rishut harabim, to open up in the rishut harabim, or b'rishut harabim v'yiftach b'rishut hayachid. Ela im kan asa mechitza gavoa 10 tefachim, unless he makes a mechitza. So here, if he made a mechitza which is 10 tefachim tall, that's this picture over here. Everyone sees the picture?
Is that the partition right there?
Yes, this is the mechitza partition.
Yes, we see it.
Yeah, okay, very good. So here, if you see here, the fact that they made the mechitza 10 tefachim tall, now I'm permitted to come and to open up the door, right? I don't know why they bechavana make it so sticking out with the lock, but I don't know. Okay? These are the words that Rabbi mean.
I thought it was a book he had.
He thought it was a book? I think that's a lock. No?
Yes, it is.
It's probably the lock. Okay. So now it says over here, Amrulo, they went and they told him, Maaseh b'shuk shel patamim. There was a shuk of katzabim. You have butchers, okay? Or here it says mochoyafot, whichever one you want. Okay, of the bird sellers or whatever. Right? Shayab Yerushalayim, that was in Yerushalayim. Shayu no'alin u'manichin mafteach b'chalon shel gabe petach. So they used to come and they used to close it, right? And they used to lock it, and they used to place the key in the chalon shel gabe petach. Right? Exactly. So you used to put it up here. here, or I don't know why he has a picture up here, but whatever, whichever one it is. Okay? So now, why is it a Reshut Yachid? Because since it's going to be 10 Tfachim tall, okay, so that's why it's considered Reshut Yachid. Rabbi Yosef says, Shuk shel Samarim ava. It was a shuk of people that sold tzemer. They sold wool. Okay, so doesn't matter which type of a shuk it was, but that they used to lock up the shuk and they used to put the key above. Okay, so says the Gemara, the Rabbanan, the rabbis that they argue on Rabbi Meir, that they say that there was from the story of the shuk Yerushalayim. What's the proof? Rabbi Meir comes and he says you have to make a mechitza. Comes the rabbis and they say Amrulo maaseh b'shuk shepatamin mefteach. And therefore what? Well, what's he telling them? Right? What's he telling him? What are they telling him? Sorry. So Amar Rabbi Meir says Rabbi Meir Reshut Rabim. Right? What happened is Rabbi Meir is talking about Reshut Rabim and you are being metaten Reshut Yachid. And they are answering that it's a Carmelit. Right? So that means the story was it was a Carmelit to Reshut Yachid. So therefore, the Amar Rabba Bar Yochanan Rabbi Yochanan says Rabbi Yochanan named Rabbi Yochanan. Yerushalayim, right? Yerushalayim in Maled Latoni Lo Balayla. If it wasn't for the fact that the doors are locked at night times, Chayvin La Mishum Reshut Rabim. They would have been a Reshut Rabim, but since they close the doors during the nighttime, it's not a Reshut Rabim, it's a Carmelit. So therefore, right, it could be that Rabbi Meir is modeh, that it's going to be permitted because you're in a Carmelit. So what's the problem? It's only the Rabbanan.
I thought we treated Carmelit and Rabim the same, more or less.
No, for sure not. Because the Carmelit is the Rabbanan. So many times we didn't make a Gezerah, right, from the Doraita to the... Okay, so let's see what it says. So says the Gemara, Amar of Papa. Rav Papa comes and he says, Kan kodem shenifritzu pratzot, right? V'kan la'achar shenifritzu pratzot. What does that mean? Rav Yochanan was coming and talking about Yerushalayim before they actually broke the breaches in the wall, right? And therefore it's going to be like a Carmelit. Here in our Mishnah, we're talking, right, the Maseh, which is brought down in the Mishnah, is talking about after they already breached the walls, and therefore it's considered like a Reshut Rabim. So that's why you're not allowed to do it. Okay? Fine. So here it says over here now like this. Okay, there's a whole question. Is it really a Carmelit or a little bit different? But okay, fine. Next. So Rav Amar, Rav comes...
Hey.
Hello?
Okay. No. Fine. So what happens is now like this. Yeah, so he says over here, so Amar of Papa, Rav Amar, Rav comes and he says, Seifa atan l'sharei gina. Right? The Seifa is talking about sharei gina. What does that mean? We're talking about the garden, the entrance of a garden, which is like a Carmelit. I don't know if we have another, no, this is later on. Okay. So it says over here, what does this mean exactly? So it says over here, right, that it's like a Carmelit, which means that the Chachamim were talking about, right, the din of Rabbi Meir in the Mishnah, but rather they came and they said, we're talking about a Carmelit. The Haki Kamar, this is what it means to say. A garden, yeah.
But a Carmelit garden.
Yes, that means a garden is like a Carmelit. Right? So he says, Haki Kamar. You're not allowed to come and stand in a Reshut Yachid and open up in a Carmelit. The Carmelit v'yiftach b'Reshut Yachid, or Carmelit and open up in Reshut Yachid. Right? Says the Kuf Aleph Amud Bet, 101b. Unless you made a mechitza gevua asarat tfachim. These are the words of Rabbi Meir. So basically, the rabbis were saying that the entire deen of Rabbi Meir was in a Carmelit. From a Carmelit to the Reshut Yachid, or Reshut Yachid to Carmelit, which is all the Rabbanans. Amrulo, they told him, Maaseh b'shuk shel patamim, sheyeh b'Yerushalayim, sheyu no'alim, u'manichin et ha'mafteach b'chalon shel petach. So therefore he says, so you see from here that you are allowed to do this from a Carmelit to a Reshut Yachid. Rabbi Yosef Omer, shuk shel tzamarim hayah, it was a shuk shel tzamarim. Okay? So now we're going to speak about being in one Reshut and now changing it to another Reshut. Okay? And because of a Carmelit. Because until now, we're always talking about Reshut Rabim to Reshut Yachid, Reshut Yachid to Reshut Rabim. Now we're talking about the Carmelit. So Tana Rabbanan, we learned in a Braita. Pitche Sharei Gina. When a person has the entrance of the gardens. Okay? These are the garden entrances. Right? If it has right now this bet shad, which is like the gatehouse on the inside. Okay? Poteach v'noel mibifnim. So you're allowed to open up and close from the inside. Mibachutz. What happens if the gatehouse is on the outside? Poteach v'noel mibachutz. You're allowed to open up on the outside. Mikar u'mikam. What happens if you have both? You have a gatehouse on the outside and also on the inside. So poteach v'noel kan v'kan.
They're showing now this picture here, Rabbi, the one you have. Look. They're saying this is now applicable to our discussion. See the hole up top? I've never seen a hole like that. Why is there a hole?
Well, that's where he's putting the key. That's called the chalon, right? It's where he's referring to the picture in the art scroll. But I didn't understand, how is that the picture that we're talking about now?
Well, he makes reference to it. The lock of the garden gate was in a box. It was 4 fucking square, 10 fucking above the ground. See diagram, and thus constitutes Rosh Hashanah. Accordingly, one who puts the key into the keyhole is put it down in a Rosh Hashanah.
Now we understand why it has to be that the lock was so big. You remember I told you guys that if you look at the picture,
Pretty strange.
in the picture, why does the lock have to be so big? Or also here. And the reason why is because it has to be 4 tfachim by 32 centimeters. The lock has to be, because it's going to be small, 4 by 4 tfachim, which is 32 centimeters square, right? Because if not, then it's not considered a Reshut Yachid. That's why. Okay, so now we understand. Okay. So what is he saying? He's saying that if you have the bet shot on the outside, so open it up on the outside, right? If you have it on the inside, open it on the inside. If you have it on both sides, so open up. So he says, "Poteach v'noel kan v'kan." So you open up.
What's a gatehouse?
A gatehouse. This looks like a gatehouse. This is like a gatehouse. The house is only here in the back. This is like a gatehouse.
That's like is that a house leading to the house, or just a covering?
It's a 4x4.
No, but this is it's like a gatehouse. This opens up in order to get to the back. Sorry. So now we continue like this. Yeah. So it says over here like this. So it says, "En laen lo kan v'lo kan." If you don't have a bet shad, which is the gatehouse, not on the inside or not on the outside, asurin kan v'kan. So then it's going to be asur whether you're on the inside or the outside to start opening up the door, right? Because now you have a problem of the key. The same halacha would apply that if you have a chanut, which is open to the Reshut Rabim, a store, which is open to the public domain, if the man'ul is going to be below 10 tfachim, you're allowed to take a key on Erev Shabbat, and you're allowed to put it on the door, right, which is over here, which is underneath the petach, right, underneath the stone. Right?
Does it show a picture?
Iskupa. The iskupa was the floor, the bottom of the floor.
4 tefachim wide, less than 10 tefachim high.
Yeah.
So there's a diagram.
There's a diagram?
Well, it says here, this little step right here.
Oh, okay. So we have it in the art school. Yeah. Okay, you have it in the art school. The bottom thing that's called the iskupa, which is like the stone which is on the bottom. Yeah. So he says over here, iskupa lemachar. The next day, poteach v'noel, which is on Shabbat, you're allowed to open up and close. Then you put it back there. But what happens if the lock is above 10 tfachim? You bring it on Erev Shabbat, and you have to put it on the lock. The next day, you open it and then you come and you put it back to its place. These doors are mini.
But we have downstairs the big manul that you open, you take out the key.
And you put it there.
Reb Meir is retracting his stringent position as it pertains to a carmelist.
Yeah.
לא מכניס אותו, משאיר. פותח ומחזיר בחזרה.
So he says, חכמים אומרים, אף בזמן שמנו למעלה מ10 טפחים, even if it isn't going to be above 10 טפחים, מביאים מפתח בין השבוע מניחו באסקופה, you're allowed to put in the סקופה, ומחר פותח ולא מחזיר לו למקומו, או בחלון של גבי הפתח, or in the חלון which is above. So again, I don't know, here we do have the picture in the art school, that's the חלון on top of the window on top of the door. אם יש בחלון 4x4, if you have 4x4, okay, then it's going to be asur. Then it's going to be asur. Why? Then it's like he's taking off from one reshut to another reshut. Okay? So says the Gemara, from the fact that it says v'chen chanuyot, and also the same halacha would apply to the stores, miklal devi iskupa karmelit askin. We're talking about an iskupa that belongs to a karmelit. So says the Gemara, hay man'ul echidami. How's the man'ul exactly? If you're going to tell me that it doesn't have 4x4 tfachim, It's makom ptur. And therefore, for sure, he's not going to prohibit you to come and take the key from the skupa and put it there. And if it does have 4x4, so then this with the Rabbanan is telling you, maybe you're carrying from the Kamalit to the Shutei Yachid. So says the Gemara, Amar Abaye, Abaye comes and he says, Leolam de enbo arba'ah. Really, you don't have 4 tfachim. V'yesh bo lachok ulashlimo le'arba'ah. But you do have, in order to be chokek and to be mashlim to the arba'ah, which means like this.
Enough.
Exactly, which means that's this picture over here. Everyone sees the picture?
Yeah, but I don't understand. Oh, you mean that
The man'ul in itself,
That's
which
the
means
thickness.
the actual key or the lock, I don't even call it. Yeah, this in itself does not have 4 tfachim. But you could be chokek or mashlim. You could open up from the door and be mashlim and complete the 4 tfachim by 4 tfachim. This also has to be 4 tfachim this way, obviously. Yeah? So that's
how much is 4 tefachim?
32 centimeters.
How many inches?
I have no idea.
12 inches? 9 inches?
How do you translate anybody? How do you
don't have a
translate?
door at 12 inches, 10 inches. Tefachim is what?
One tefach is 8 centimeters. 8 centimeters.
So you're talking about 4 of these a door. Nobody has doors that thick, Rabbi.
Not do-
No. It's the width of the box.
with the box. The box is already probably, let's say, 2. Yeah, it's sticking out. That's why I showed you this picture.
So the door
It's
becomes
sticking
extension
out.
to the
You
box.
But
extend
now
it, so
extending it, you have enough in the door in order to extend
the
it that
doors
you
are
have.
like this thick. You know
No,
what I mean?
forget
Yeah.
about the door. The door is here. This is the door. It's same thickness. But the box itself is
that's why the
almost
box
4
is thick.
tefachim.
Okay.
Because this and the door
Fine.
become 4.
I got it. Thank
So
you.
that's this picture. Everyone has this picture? Okay. That's it until Kufbet. So says the Gemara, Amar Abaye says again, Leolam de bo arba, but you have lachok lashno arba. Ubeha pliga, this is a machloket. Rabbi Meir savar, but according to Rabbi Meir, he says, chokekin lashlim, which means we would dig out from the door, like we would like chisel out from the door in order to be mashlim to the 4x4 tfachim. And then you have a problem. But according to the rabbis, right, we do not come and we do not say that it's ki'ilu, that it's going to be 4 tfachim in total. And therefore it's a makom tur. It's a makom tur, there's no problem. So Amar of Bebai Barabaye says Rabbi Barabaye, we learn 3 things from this braita. Shmamina, we learn one, the first thing, chokin lashlim. According to Rabbi Meir, he said that chokin lashlim, which means, right? Yeah, exactly. It's just, well, it's the exact same picture that we showed there. You carve it out in order to complete it.
The hole in the door like this. Look at the hole in the
I just
door.
showed you the picture. You weren't paying attention, Richard. It's the exact same thing.
Oh, is that what they did?
Yeah.
Here, the carving is on top.
So,
Well,
so it's here.
okay, yeah, I guess I wouldn't see the shade.
Yeah, here it is. Okay. So basically, what happens is number one that you're going to be chokin lashlim, which means you could carve out in order to be mashlim the measurement. Shmamina number 2, hadar be Rabbi Meir misharei gina. Rabbi Meir will retract it from sharei gina, from the gatehouse, that he said that at the beginning it was going to be a sud, he retracted. Shmamina, we also learned midrabanan from the words of the rabbis. Ita le Rav Dimi, we hold like Rav Dimi. The chiyata Rav Dimi was Rav Dimi came and he said, right? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, name Rabbi Yochanan. Makom she'en bo arba al-arba, a place that does not have 4x4 tfachim. Mutar livnei reshut rabim livnei reshut echil lechatef alav. You're allowed to come and allowed to put things on top of it. Uvivad shelo yachlifu. You remember the picture that inside of the main domain, in the public domain, you have like a little tiny whatever, a step or whatever you want to call it, and then you're able to come and lean things on it and to put things adjust your loads, but you're not allowed to switch between the reshut yachid and reshut rabim. You're not allowed to switch. That was with the story of the hat and the thing. Okay, fine. Mishnah. Neger sheyesh berosho glustera. We're talking about now the neger is the briach, which is the, how did you call it before? It used to be the locks in the olden days. They used to go from one side. A bolt. Okay.
Bolt.
Okay, so the bolt. The bolt sheyesh berosho glustera. That it has,
Knob.
on the top part, it has a knob. Okay? So that means sorry, what did you say?
I'm louder. You can't hear him.
I can't make him louder. So that's it. Yeah, Rabbi Eliezer Oser. Rabbi Eliezer comes and he says that it's going to be a sur to close the door with it, and Rabbi Yosef says that it's going to be permitted to close the door with it. Amar Rabbi Eliezer says Rabbi Eliezer Maaseh beKnesset shebetveria. There was a story with the Bet Knesset in Tveria. Shayuno agim bo heter, that they used to make this heter. Shebanu Gamliel v'Zekenim asur lehem. So Rabbi Gamliel v'Zekenim used to come and he told them it's a sur to lock with this thing. Rabbi Yosef Omer. Rabbi Yosef says Isuna agubo. Right, the opposite. They actually prohibited it And then Rabbi Gamliel and Zakarin came and they permitted it to them. So basically, there was a question of whether it's that they permitted it, then the rabbis came and they made it prohibited, or was it that they prohibited it and then the rabbis came and they permitted it?
You have a picture of a bowl with a knob?
But this,
No, not here.
But this bolt, was it completely removed out, or is it connected with the hinges? Meaning you lift it up like that to open and close, or you need to remove it and put it back. That's the big question here. Because if it has the hinges and you
This
lift
is
it
the
up
next
and
one.
down, then it's not a problem. But if you remove it, then the problem becomes big.
The knob makes the bolt
Here
into
it
an
is.
utensil that you could use it as a pestle.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
This is nigrar,
This is my point.
kashur v'talui.
But there you go. That makes the whole difference.
No, but we're going to see this in the Gemara already. So this is munach, kashur v'talui nigrar. Okay, we're going to speak about it then. Okay.
That's the essence of the whole argument.
Because basically what's happening is that there's going to be three different cases. We're going to have this thing that they used to put around, right, on the door in order to lock it. So it could be either, right, look at it. Here you see it. This is like, even nowadays they have this, by the way, right? But this is going down in the ground, right? I always thought that they used to put it across the door. Here they're putting it in the ground. It's like, the bolts that you have nowadays. in the door. So here it's going to be kashur v'talui, which means that it's hanging, and then you just come and you put it in.
Fine,
Here
but
it's
part of the
resting,
all the time,
and
right?
here it's dragging.
Yes.
Okay, but we're going to speak about it. That's already the Gemara on Kuf Bet. Let me see if there's anything.
So the difference is the one.
Or you know what? We're going to do the Gemara. Let's do the Gemara. Okay? So it says over here, right? We're going to go to the next Mishnah. Okay, on Kuf Bet Amud Aleph. So it says the Gemara, Benital Bigdo, if we're talking about a neged which is actually kashur, which is tied, right? Which means that if you're going to come and you're going to tie it, right? It's not going to come and tear it, tear the chevel, the rope, because it's so heavy. So then everybody agrees that you're allowed to lock the door. Because since it's kashur v'talui, which means it's tied up properly, and that was the picture that I just showed you, it's going to be okay. Ki plige, when is the machloke between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yosef? B'she'eno nital bigdo, which means you cannot carry it, right, through the rope that it has. You can't pick it up with the rope. Okay?
It's too weak.
Yeah.
It would break.
Okay, so therefore that's why it's going to break. The more savabas, one of them holds, given the yesh pirosho glustra, since it has this glustra trot kli alav, it's like a kli. So again, the glustra was this.
Nobody's going to think you're building.
This knob over here, right? This little tiny thing, that knob, that's the glustra. If I can make it zoom in, here it is. This is the little glustra. So here it's kashur v'talui. Okay, it's tied. So if you could pick it up from it, so then it's going to be okay. But if you can't pick it up from it, more so given the yesh pirosho glustra torakli, it's a kli. More so given then since you can't pick it up from the rope, it's not a kli, and therefore you're not allowed to close in it. And then we continue with the Mishnah.
Now it says something about Mar, Rabbi Eliezer. Saw that?
Yeah, there was a machloke between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yosef. That was the Mishnah. Fine. So everyone have a wonderful day.